Hey everyone, I'm Fernanda. Yandere Simulator is a game I feel most people know about or have heard about at least once. It was extremely popular a few years back, but lately I've been seeing redesigned videos of it which made me want to do the same, as well as rewrite some things about it. I want to make something clear before I start though. I do not support Yandere Dev or anything he's done. For this video, I'll only be talking about Yandere Simulator as a game and not about its creator since this isn't about him. For those of you who don't know what Yandere Simulator is, I'll briefly give an explanation of it. Yandere Simulator is a game that follows the main character Ayano Aishi, who's also known as Yandere-chan or Yan-chan, who has a massive crush on a boy in her class called Taro Yamada, also known as Senpai. She's obsessed with him in an unhealthy way and will eliminate any girl who has feelings for him, and so that's the player's goal: to eliminate all 10 rivals in order to get Senpai's heart. Although some of these rivals are really controversial since one of them is Senpai's sister and one of them is a literal adult. We'll get more into that later though, so let's get started with my design for Ayano. Before redesigning these characters, however, first I need to lay out my ideas and inspirations in order for things to go smoothly. And to help me with that, I'll be using Milano, who's the lovely sponsor of today's video. Milano is a great tool for organizing any creative projects you may have. With Milano, you can brainstorm ideas, create mood boards, make to-do lists, and so much more. I'm someone who's a visual learner and relies a lot on pictures as my inspirations. And so Milano was a huge help with this because I was able to lay out all of my inspirations for both Ayano and Osana's design in a way I could understand. During my Wings Club redesign video, I had to constantly go back and forth with my camera roll and Procreate to look at my inspirations. But with Milano, I was able to put all of my ideas onto one canvas. They even have a feature where you can directly place pictures with links to their original sources, which is amazing. I sometimes forget where I find specific pictures from, so this feature is really useful for that. This also works for any link in particular that you may want to save. Since my knowledge on Yandere Simulator is pretty outdated, I wanted to learn some of the lore of the two characters I was drawing. And so I just went into the websites I needed and added it to my Milano board. So now anytime I wanted to refresh my memory, all I had to do was click on that link. But let's say you don't know where to start. That's okay! Milano has over 100 built-in templates you can try out for any creative project you have. It doesn't have to be anything too serious either. If you're someone like me who is very normal about her OCs, then you can even make a board of them. I already went ahead and made one of Daphne. I have information about her on there and some inspirations behind her character. You're also free to add videos onto your board, which is how I put her voice claim clip on there. Another cool feature Milano has is the ability to create subboards, which is what I did on Daphne's board for Ghost Daphne's section, since they're pretty different characters personality-wise. You can even invite other people to collaborate with you in real time for feedback or just to brainstorm together. There's honestly so much you can do on Milano, it's amazing. And if you're someone who's on the go pretty often, you can even install Milano on your phone, which widens its accessibility. So what are you waiting for? Milano is free with no time limit, so sign up for a free Milano account using the link in the description. Thank you so much to Milano for sponsoring this video, and without further ado, let's get back to the redesigns. I kept most of Ayano's design pretty similar to the original. I didn't drastically change too much of both of the designs I'm doing in this video, but still tweaked them a bit. I actually don't mind Ayano's plain looking appearance since I thought it matched how she feels empty inside because of the Aishi condition she has. The Aishi condition is something all Aishi children have, which means that they'll feel empty and hollow inside with barely any emotions, and have to meet their special someone who'll make them feel complete. I don't really get it, but that's basically why Ayano likes Senpai so much, why she needs him, since he's the only one who can make her feel anything. But while doing more research on her, I learned that her hobby is trying to convince people that she's a normal girl, and so I thought that for my design that she actually wears pink contacts to try to resemble Osana more since she's the person closest to Senpai. I wanted this to be a pretty important part of her design, which is why I put it on my Milano board, to show that all she wants is to be with Senpai even if it means changing herself for him. I was originally gonna keep her short-sleeved white uniform she originally has in the game, but I personally love the blue version of it better, and so I ended up switching to that one. I did make the skirt longer though to make it more accurate to an accurate Japanese uniform. Plus, I feel like the combination of colors just looks nicer to me. I also gave her eye bags and made her part of the photography club. Technically, you can join any club in the game, and it said that if Ayano were to join any club that it'd be the occult club. But I feel like the photography club would make the most sense for her since she'd be able to take pictures of Senpai and keep track of her rivals without being seen as suspicious for carrying a camera around school. I'd imagine her personality to be more awkward and sort of out of place. Students at Academy would consider her to be weird, but still someone friendly they could rely on. Going back to the Aishi condition though, like I mentioned earlier, all the Aishi children in Ayano's family have this condition, and we actually get to see her mom's point of view during the 1980s mode. It's basically what Yandere Simulator is meant to be, but for some reason was implemented into its own separate thing. There's still 10 rivals you have to eliminate without getting caught in order to get Senpai's love, but instead of the protagonist being Ayano, it's her mom. Like I said, I don't know why this has to be its own separate thing, instead of just working on the main story. But let's move on to a separate topic, which is Senpai. I didn't redesign him in this video since I'm pretty sure you can actually customize him in the game to fit your interest, and so I didn't think it'd be necessary. However, I would like to talk about how I'd change his personality, since he doesn't really have one. In-game, he's described as a loner and an average guy. He has average grades, average looks, average everything. But it also says that he's really friendly, which aren't bad traits to have at all, but for a guy who's captured the heart of 10 different girls, 11 including Ayano, with varying personalities, I find that hard to believe. So in my version, Senpai would be pretty popular around school. He'd be a total extrovert and tries his best to get along with everyone. I'd imagine that instead of Ayano falling in love with him at first sight, that instead she'd gradually develop feelings for him ever since he first defended her while she was getting picked on when they were younger. There's nothing wrong with love at first sight and can be very cute, but I just want Ayano to have a stronger reason for falling for Senpai. I imagine that when Ayano was younger that she'd get picked on for acting off and not like other kids her age. She was very reserved and some of her classmates considered her to be creepy, and so she'd get picked on at times. That wasn't until Senpai stood up for her and genuinely tried befriending her. Ayano had never experienced this. Most kids that would try to befriend her would eventually give up since she was so closed off, but Senpai was different. He was patient with her, and although she didn't talk much, he enjoyed talking to her. That's when Ayano started developing her crush for him, and although she wanted to talk to him more, she was too nervous to do so in case she'd mess anything up. And so their relationship didn't go any further from friendly conversations. Eventually, Senpai became more and more popular, so he doesn't have as much time to talk to Ayano, but will still greet her and act friendly towards her when he does bump into her. She realized that his closest friend was Osana, and so she tried her best to try and be more like her. She started using pink contacts and wears pink accessories to try to appeal more to Senpai, as well as joined a club to appear more normal. And so that's my little reimagining of Ayano and how she first fell for Senpai. It's not anything too unique, but I still think it works. Now onto Osana Najimi, who's the first rival you have to eliminate in the game. Osana is a tsundere, which means that she's very harsh and cold towards the person she likes, which is Senpai. But that's only because she's afraid of telling him how she actually feels. And so she hides her embarrassment with a harsh attitude. She and Senpai are childhood friends and are really close to each other, but I don't understand why she continues to act harsh towards him when she actually likes him. I mean, I understand that it's because she's scared to tell him that she has feelings for him, but I'd like to imagine that in my version, Osana would get shy around him at times, but will still be friendly towards him. She'd joke around with him, but once he does something to reaffirm her feelings for him, she gets embarrassed and attempts to end the conversation as quickly as possible so that he doesn't see her blush. I don't want to completely change her personality since it does add to her character, but I want to play it down a bit since I find it hard to believe that Senpai would fall for someone who's constantly harsh towards him. Let's talk about her design though. Hers is also one I didn't change too much. I wanted to keep her color scheme consistent of pinks and oranges like the original cause I think it's just too iconic for her. I did change her eye color to pink though. There's not really a huge reason for it, I just thought it was cute. I had to say that my main struggle with her design though was definitely the hair. There were so many hairstyles I was trying out for her, but none of them felt right. I feel like the pigtails just fit her so well, and so I tried multiple versions of them until I found one I really liked. I also changed her hair ties into bows with the same pattern she originally has and gave her some hair clips. I did attempt to give her some leg warmers on top of her stockings like the ones I have on my Milano board, but it just felt like too much, and so I removed them. I might try working them in somehow though. Maybe I'll get rid of her stockings. And I don't think it's really noticeable on here, but I did give her little bug teeth. I don't know, I just think they look really cute on her. Let's go back to my reimagining of the game though. I would have personally made Osana the last rival we have to beat. I mean, she's the person who has the highest chance with Senpai since they are childhood friends, and I'm pretty sure it's confirmed that Senpai actually likes Osana too. Plus, she has Raiburu, who is her best friend and acts like her bodyguard. She'll defend her anytime Ayano tries harming Osana and will be by her side pretty much 24/7, which adds an extra layer of difficulty to her elimination. In my version, Osana would attempt to hide her feelings for Senpai in fear of ruining their friendship, but it's thanks to Raiburu's encouragement that she gets the courage to confess to him on Friday. Osana is said to be quite popular in the game, which is something I'd keep, but I'd have my Osana be one of the first few people to be wary of Ayano. Since in my reimagining she'd be the last rival you have to eliminate, she'd slowly start putting the pieces together on who's causing all of these killings. In the beginning, she wouldn't think too much about it since Senpai insists that Ayano's just shy and hard to get to know. But as the weeks go by, she'll slowly start to try and convince Senpai on her theory. Look, the other rivals aren't as close to Senpai as Osana is, and so I think it'd make the most sense for her to be the quote-unquote final boss. Talking about the rivals though, I think it'd be interesting to imagine that not all the girls have a crush on Senpai. Maybe some of them do, but for the most part I think that in actuality, Ayano's so paranoid and scared of someone taking Senpai away that any interaction he has with a girl makes her believe that they're trying to take him away. That could be the case with characters like the teacher, nurse, and his sister. Although technically his sister doesn't actually like him romantically, but she still hasn't promised to never get a girlfriend, which I think is weird. So I think it'd make more sense for those characters to act completely normal towards Senpai, but Ayano just overthinks everything and assumes they like him. It just makes more sense to me rather than having a literal adult try to get with a child. It's just so weird. But that's it for my redesign slash reimagining. I had a lot of fun drawing these characters and coming up with the lore behind them more than I thought, so hopefully you guys enjoyed it too. I don't usually rewrite things, so I hope it wasn't too bad or confusing. Thank you again to Millinote for sponsoring this video. Don't forget to check it out using the link in my description, and as always, I hope you have a great day.